and foremost, I want to thank the organizers of this event. I want to thank the chairman of the Board of Trustees of this organization. And I particularly want to also thank Pastor Olorofre and his wife for the passion they have shown in this program. I think what the organization is doing is very, very important. We have heard very great lectures, and the issue of drug abuse in our society is a very serious problem. I want to just emphasize the gravity of the issue and the magnitude of the problem that this foundation is trying to solve here today. You already heard the representative of the president when he said that the president said his greatest challenge that he has faced was not being Boko Haram or Hezbollah issue, but the issue of drug abuse. Having served as the teacher of NAFDAC for 3 presidents from Yaradua, Jonathan, and Buhari, I think one of my greatest challenges also was to fight this drug abuse. Because if the president is not happy with an issue, then you who are the desk officer, you also are the receiving end. One thing that most of the presenters here did not bring on was the fact that to bring NAFDAC to situate NAFDAC into this whole problem. We talked about NTLA, but you notice that most of the drug, all that were mentioned here were drug policies that are now diverted to illicit use. So NAFDAC regulates those drugs when it comes to illicit use of the drugs. But then when people divert and people abuse them, they become the territory of the NTLA. So when I was at NAFDAC, we worked very closely with the NTLA to try to regulate these drugs of abuse. Every time we were trying to, we actually formed a committee together. And the problem is, you go to the International Narcotic Control Board in Vienna, and they tell you that Nigeria is not using this narcotics enough to tackle pain. And then you come here, you find out that the drug that I imported for pain relief has been diverted. So my job here is very limited. I'm going to we have had very great lectures, started by Professor and then the interventions by NDLEA and UNOTC. These are wonderful lectures that have explained the problem, so I'm not going to go into the problem again. I just want us all together to discuss this problem, and I have a panel of discussers here that are very knowledgeable. So I'll be inviting them to make very brief presentations, very brief interventions, analyzing some of these aspects of the lectures, and I will just give them maybe 5-6 minutes maximum, so that the rest of the hall will have time to also make their own contribution to this gathering. To tell you how serious the problem is, I think even the president said that it is both Boko Haram and Hezbollah combined. But you know that this issue of drug abuse also fuels some of all these problems. It fuels the Boko Haram, it fuels the insurgents, it fuels everything that you see in this country. So let me invite Dr. Mario Andara to make the first intervention. 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much to the organizers for inviting me to be part of this panel and to share some of my thoughts as I listen to the presenters, and it's also based on my experience in the war against drug, not only as a member of the Presidential Advisory Committee on the Northeast, on elimination of drug abuse in Nigeria, chairing the Northeast subcommittee, but also as one of the people who campaigned in the street codeine to ban codeine in cough syrup in Nigeria. Now, as a female activist, I am a female activist. I want to use this opportunity to introduce myself because I noticed, and because I'm a female activist, I'm extremely gender sensitive. I noticed that the MC introduced me as an advisor to the UN Secretary General on Central Emergency Response, and he finished at that. And I noticed strictly how he introduced all the men. And so therefore I said, no, I disagree. I absolutely disagree. So my name is Dr. Mero Mandara. I'm a wife, I'm a mother. I am an obstetrician gynecologist, meaning I'm a surgeon. I'm a public health physician of the Royal College of Public Health. Foundation in the UK. I also teach obstetrics and gynecology in University of Maiduguri and Ahmadu University in London. So this is me. And I have several publications, including an acknowledged publication that is still celebrated 50 years after it has been published, because they are actually in the second year. So thank you very much. Just to rub a few things that we do subconsciously, so that we're a bit more aware in the future. Now, on a more serious note, when we listen to the issue of drug abuse in Nigeria, it is really one of our greatest challenges. And just yesterday, and 2 days also over Salah, as we celebrated and I received guests, something clicked. A friend of mine told me a story of a new addiction. And as Prof said, the impact of drugs, it produces dopamine, it produces a lot of exciting chemicals that make us high. There's a new trend that is growing very, very, very fast, producing the same impact, making young people in particular high, making adult men and responsible women very high, creating theft, turning our children into stealing, creating snatching, creating all the crimes that drug cause, but it's not a drug. You know what it is? Bet Naija. Yes. Children who have been sent to pay for school fees have cases of children paying 50% and going to bet, hoping that they'll get a little more. Children have been seen stealing from their parents to go and bet Naija. I know of a man who has lost every single furniture in his house, betting Naija. I know of a child recently in NDA, your own NDA, who's got a walk for 3 days. They saw him in Kaduna in the Bet Naija office because seniors had sent him with a pass to go and do some stuff, and he used part of the money to Bet Naija, hoping he was going to get extra. He did it, and you can imagine NBA, your seniors have sent you with money. What are you going to come and tell them? So why I'm saying this is that we need to think deep as we look at issues of menaces, issues that are affecting the social fabrics of our society. We shouldn't look at one issue at a time. We should look at holistically our development as a country, as a community. What are those issues that are fundamental to where we find ourselves today? And for me, there are a couple of them. Our social values have disintegrated. Our social values have disintegrated. Those of you living in Lagos know better what time mothers and fathers leave home with children sleeping at the back of the car, dropping them in the hospital, in the office, barely awake, proceed, the fathers see all of their children at weekends. Don't these have impact? I don't think they have a lot of impact. Secondly, we are religious people, but we have, I'm glad this is being propelled by people who believe in God, but we have misused religion, we have destroyed religion, we have made religion to be something that's overt. It's about how long my hijab is as a Muslim woman. It's about what collar you wear as a pastor. It's about how much in the church you will shout hallelujah and make people euphoric. It's not about relationship with God. It's not about what I do, whether I speak, how I talk to the people on the streets, whether I'm kind or not. We have failed as parents. We have failed as government. I'm not saying that this is a failure completely. We still have an opportunity to salvage things. And salvaging the issue of drug, I'm not going to bother about the details of technical things that we all have were taken over by Boko Haram for a long time. And I remember coming to Lagos and friends of mine saying to me, you know, this is your thing in Boko Haram. And I keep saying, be careful. This my thing one day will become your thing. And in less than 5 years, Boko Haram is everybody's thing. So also is drug. If your child is not in it, if you're not in it, if others you know are not in it, if you think by not doing anything you're protecting yourself, you're joking. Your house help, at the very worst, you know what? You go into the community and a drunkard and an addict will be driving and they will hit you. So what I'm saying is that we individually have to take personal responsibility of doing something different. And doing something different, I always remember, is not about money. It's about counseling, it's about availability, it's about seeing the victims of drug abuse as victims. Because if for those of you who saw street coding, we saw in Ilorin how a healthcare worker working in the pharmacy was even advising the journalists that start very young, even if it is for free. And then they will be hooked and you'll get a good customer base. Yes, for those of you who have not watched street coding, please watch it. Now, so this is one, we have to take personal responsibility. Secondly, we have to have serious political commitment. As far as I'm concerned, I'm glad NDLEA is here. Political commitment is not number of staff. It's people doing the right thing. I had the opportunity of looking deep into what NDLEA is doing. They're not well funded. They don't have vehicles. They don't have anything. There's absolutely no political will to end this problem in this country. And I can tell you for certain, NDLEA, NAFTA, Custom, and who are the other one, and the police, they're all fighting each other. They're all fighting each other over position, over I am the one on the media, and the police and NDLEA are fighting. Because when one arrests, this one collects bail money to use their thing. The only group problem that I'm really impressed is one of the, Army or Navy, I don't know which one, so I don't want to give you credit, where they check their staff randomly. So the truth is that when we have such a problem, let's call a spade a spade. Until we accept that we are doing something wrong, we will not begin to look at what we need to do. And as far as I'm concerned, each one of us has something to do, and if we do not act, inaction is actually abating the problem. And if we just hear and want to quiet and do nothing and say it's their problem, one day, I'm not a prophet of doom, but one day it will catch up with each one of us. So the earlier we face this problem, the better for us in the interest of our community and at the very minimum, in the interest of self-preservation. And thank you all.
You mentioned concerning sanctions. One of the biggest challenges that we had regulating those products was that this is one of the great cost of pressures, and yet we try to make it only by prescription drug so that it's not over the counter. Then you find out that most of the people who need it don't have access to it. So it became a very big challenge. We're still struggling with that. I don't know what the NDLEA they want to do about that, but we are working together with this, trying to find a bit ways. One of the other things that I found out very interesting, when they mentioned here that I didn't hear, even for a day, I don't capture that one, it's related to agency. Some young people catch an old man with gray hair, they shave the gray hair and use it as smoke it. These are some of the things that are coming up. But it's a big challenge. Let us start
distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me begin by thanking the Board of Trustees of RDSF for this wonderful idea. The truth of the matter is that it is not how much happiness you have as an individual that makes you the happiest person, but the fact that you are able to put smiles on people's faces. And to that extent, I love my cap for what they're doing, and I wish them more grace to their efforts. I speak as a teacher who has been in the system, in tertiary education system, for over 30 years. And along the line, I've held positions like Dean Student Affairs, which I held at the University of Port Harcourt between the year 2000 and 2004, December. And within that period, I saw a lot of drug wars between groups. I had, call it, the opportunity of having students breathe their last in my hands, just exclaiming, "Dean, help me. Dean, help me," and they are dying. And at the end of it, they give up the ghost. And when I asked myself, what is the reason for all of this? It is the false perception that drugs give to their users. Because drug users think they become very emboldened. They become very, very bold and powerful, to do anything. And that translates to those in the secondary schools, because there is a subculture coming up that makes students in secondary schools believe that the bolder you are, the more respected you should be. But that is the lie of the devil. That is coming from the drug subculture, which emphasizes aggressive behavior. And that is not the way to go. I often tell friends that the best drink to drink is water, not alcohol, not marijuana, because when you finish doing all of these, the tendency is to arrogate to yourself the powers and the possibilities and the potentials that you don't have. Because when the chips are down, you go for a retaliatory attack, hits they call it, with guns, and end up killing yourselves. And that is the point of intervention that I want to extract from the presentation presented or made by the erudite scholar who was our guest lecturer. As it concerns the challenge of student wastage, you see, it doesn't just end up with students dropping out of the university. It doesn't just end up with students dropping out of schools. A lot of them lose their lives in the process. And that is why drug abuse in this country, from all we've heard today, in fact, for me, it has been a learning curve, is a hyper-headed problem which requires all hands to be on deck. We must all cooperate in our various niches to ensure that there is a realistic determination which comes from the inside, particularly for the parents and parent groups. Because research has shown that whenever parents and parent groups are sufficiently interested in solving a problem, they usually succeed a lot in doing that. Parents must educate their wards about the consequences of drug abuse, right from the cradle. As a teacher, you must be a role model by first and foremost developing a zero tolerance to drug abuse. Because it is not in pontification, it is not in doing what I say, it is more in doing what I do. Because we must lead by examples. We must tell our students the whole truth. Occupy them sufficiently enough through recreation, through sports, through sufficient sleep. Because a lot of them are under the false impression that to be able to read at night, you must get involved with drugs. To artificially keep awake, which is a noble area, it's wrong. You cannot cheat nature. If you don't sleep in the daytime sufficiently, you cannot stay awake at night to read. That is why the perceptions have to be put correctly. There must be a lot more encouragement of the existence of drug-free clubs in the secondary schools, even in the universities. Because all that has been said today, concerning interventions at various levels, have not filtered to the universities. The universities also need a lot of intervention. And that is where non-governmental organizations like RDSF come into the picture to establish control units, drug control units that can counsel students, not with the punitive kind of psychology, not to criminalize those who are addicts, but to empathically put them back in the path of correction, so that ultimately they will quit the habits. Let me round up by saying that the current drug policy of the nation emphasizes prevention and punishment. We need to move away from that. Because current researches, I'm talking about publications of this year, 2019, are pointing in the direction of sensitization of parents, particularly. Yes, somebody suggested that when jobs are created, a lot more persons will quit, drug abuse. But the issue is not with the economic angle from the recent research published in March this year. The fundamental causes are more social than economic. We must, as parents, rise up to education and bring our children up in the way they should go, so that when they grow up, they will not depart from it. More importantly, awareness must be aroused across the nation, horizontally and vertically, by government departments, by wards in communities, by traditional rulers, by professionals, by the private sector, because that is a very beautiful place to spend the money, the excess profit that derive from doing business. Because, like has been mentioned, the future belongs to the youths. I don't want a situation in which they see me as a gray-haired man and they want to get hold of my gray hair so that they can get high. No. We must all collectively join hands to rise as a nation so that this problem can be properly tackled and resolved. Thank you very much.
We cannot find this robot bring solid information enough what they have. But this is very important. Let me invite Dr.
undergraduate and postgraduate students in 1984. I remember them. I cannot sit and talk. So I want to tell us, please, come on. Please, it's out of my, please, all of us stand. All of us stand. All of us stand. And say, after me, I thank you, solid, recovered, free, solid foundation. Say it. Okay. I have a question that is related to what we are talking today. Why do you think the Yorubas like sticking to themselves and holding on to resources? And the Northerners like shifting cultivation and identity. That's a question with one. This is something that I briefly discussed 1995 with the University of Ife. I was the only person from the Polytechnic and the only person from the North, and it is now. There is a lot of relationship between ecology and our people. Because in the West, vegetation is very dense. It's not easy for you to cultivate and give away. Whereas in the North, Savannah and Sahel, you can easily shift and say, okay, come, stranger, come assist me. So what am I saying? The topic we are discussing has two perspectives of treatment. One, preventive, which we are supposed to lay emphasis on today. Education, and there are two types. The informal, which starts from the parents, and the formal, which is the Western education. Unfortunately, there's what we call acculturation. When I did my PhD research in 1996, I concluded in 1996. I found out that the cognitive styles, that the thinking styles among JSS students in Adamawa and Taraba State, we are nothing to write home about. But I sat down and thought that God cannot create a bunch of stupid people in one place and intelligent people in another place. It is the influence of the environment. And the influence of the environment starts from the womb. So what did I do? I decided to make just a short presentation in Hausa and English. Went to NTA. NTA said it was paid. I said, I didn't have money, but I have technical know-how. So in the end, after going to UCs, going to UNICEF, UNICEF was able to send me back to NTA to just give 3 lectures in NTA. And that one is about child development from conception. So the problem we have, which we should lay emphasis on as educators, all of us are educators, is how does acculturation affect us today? Acculturation is a difference, no balance between Western and traditional education. We are still practicing traditional education, at the same time practicing Western. The children are confused. What am I saying? The children are confused. They are thinking. So my results showed that only 4.something% of the students I took were self-independent in thinking. 72 points was dependent. And when you find out, for heaven's sake, parents, mothers, I talk to them. Addiction is not just drugs. Why are you plaiting adult hair on a baby? Why are you using an adult style? A child of 5 years, 4 years will be going like this in tight skirts. I stop and talk to parents. That is addiction of nonsense. Addiction of nonsense. You take a tender hair of the baby and you start putting beads, putting the artificial hair, dead man's hair, and you say it's beauty. That's addiction. Now, you take a daughter, because you have the money, you put gold earrings in her. She doesn't want anything. Now, when she goes up to adolescence, when self-actualization starts, what type of earrings will she buy? There is no satisfaction. You know, everybody has what we call in psychology self-actualization. And if you cannot do it in positive way, you will do it in negative way. Because you want to show that I am a human being. I can do something. So when she goes to adolescent period, it's not about wearing gold, but she wants to wear something that is different. And so she starts seeing what friends are putting on, seeing what others are doing. And she goes everywhere, she goes off, including taking drugs. Because you have already given her what she should have put on when she was young. That is addiction. And it's our problem today that leads to most of this drug addiction. Some of these children, they don't know what they do because they already have the money. What psychologists say, in every stage, there is an accomplishment that the child will do by himself or herself. Which parents are doing, we educated ones, formerly educated, we are doing for the children. That is wrong, and it's a basis for addiction. As an educator, my grandchildren was never on jewelry. They must never let adult hair put on beads. One child in Kaduna, St. Gerard, died, a baby of 3 months. I think for the report was very true. She was plaited ahead and with beads. She was just crying and she was taken to the hospital. They did all sorts of tests. They didn't know what was wrong. Eventually, the doctor said, let's see. By the end, he found out that it was a scab. The baby died. The baby died. So our addiction, I mean, I expected, sorry, you did a lot on the analysis of what drug addiction is. But you should have touched on where you want I'm coming. Whether I can come from Kaduna and give me 5 minutes. Whether you want support, whether you want education, motivational talk, coping skills, assertiveness, these were areas I expected to have concentrated to tell us how we teachers in schools, and schools, we are not talking about university. Schools are just one Primary, yes. Primary to SSC. And we don't even talk about early childhood, which is my baby, because what you set against, you carry on. The intelligence of a human being is developed between age 0 and 12. Any other thing is unfolding it. So I expected that all these courses are being sent. How will a school teacher help a child who is addicted in drug? How, like what the UN person talks about, it's a good presentation, listing out. She didn't want to tell us what we Nigerians, remember what the chairman said, that it is not just potential but practicality. So, how do we now help our own people, children in school, in primary what? In primary 1, primary 2, in SSCE, how do we help them by age? You know, the UN person was talking about relationship between drug abuse and age and then sex. We have to look at, if we are going to do that, is the teachers in school who will know what are the requirements of this child? How am I going to help this child? If the child is not performing, because by the end of the day, it's either death or lack of performance, and that child will go to reach the self-actualization. In fact, I came into shoes, my rector sent me, and I just jotted something down, which I have given a new book. I said, I gave an example of somebody whose legs were cut from here by train, and the mother took 7 years to train. Today he's a rehabilitated person. 2006, I was there in Sion, New Zealand. So what the summary would be, so that our students will understand this. Every human being has desire for self-actualization. So the first thing parents must do is, why am I doing what I am doing? The child must be helped to know why I am doing what I'm doing. I always tell people, even if you are killing yourself, you are doing something, be responsible for what you are doing. Let it be that you are not enforced to do that, but that you are really doing it. That is one. 2, students, I want you to know that every human being can do something, no matter the physical challenge. They require assurance. So what we are going to do as parents and former educators is, what can this child do? And how will that child be, helped to reach that self-actualization? Not the purchase of doctors that we are doing. That's why I don't want you to call me doctor. I put PhD because I work for it. All the drugs and everything, they are the immediate solution. But for drug addiction in Nigeria, we need the proactive measures, which is starting from the womb. The mother, what type of drugs does she take? It affects the brain. What type of food does she take? It affects the brain. There's a relationship between the diet of the pregnant woman and the brain of the fetus. Those are the things now we should consider as parents. All teachers, by the grace of God, are parents or prospective parents. So how are we going to do it? We should have flaws. People are very happy that we have started going to the institution. And I know I will join the institution. Because from that I research, I was able to set intervention center for children and women in Africa. Because my chairman. So I also wrote this new book. I give you. I finished. Very simple. This is for your life. Maybe the chairman of the This is for your life. The
Thank you. To round up this discussion on this side of the table, because we're going to give the floor to those of you after this. Last question, very good lectures here by ADA and also from NDA. We have very good presentation. I think we'll give some time to last week, but let me go to General. Yeah, let me go briefly to Major General Anthony Ajebe, medical doctor, a consultant radiologist. Generals are going to be very brief, straight to the point.
Thank you, sir. Well, in the last stretch, so we're also very brief and very correct. I've been following the trends of substance abuse since the 90s. As a young major, I was appointed chairman of fake and adulterated drugs in Lagos State, 1991. Then that was not existing. While we went raiding shops and all that, we kept coming across things we didn't understand what they were. Cannabis roots. See, a lot of pills, they call Chinese pills, vitamins and others. And when we take these drugs or these substances to forensic laboratory, then they don't show you. But there was no NAFDAC. They could not analyze those things. And many of those errors were going through on technical grounds. So I followed the trend, how substance abuse has so much increase in this country. Now, I'm a cardiologist and a physician, where we see a lot of young people that come with hypertension. 22-year, no family history, 30-year heart attack. And when we probe very well, we discover that some of them have been taking either vitamin, we increase the heart rate, we increase blood pressure. Some of them have had stroke from cocaine use. Some have their nasal septum ruptured also from cocaine use. So, and of course, cannabis, both in the military, a lot of our young soldiers and officers have been taking this. So it made me to actually sit up. And the book I wrote, there are 2 chapters on substance abuse and alcohol use. So for us, the question is not there is substance abuse, it's with us here. What do we do? Parents should be able to watch their children very well. There are markers that will let you know that a child is likely to be abusing drugs. When a brilliant child suddenly the grade starts dropping, you oversleeps, or sometimes becomes very aggressive, he always likes to wear long sleeve. Doesn't want to wear short sleeve because he's still having marks, little marks. When you continuously begin to fall ill, then they wear that goggle because of bloodshot eyes and then pinpoint cookies for narcotics. So when you don't take it that this is fashion, remove the glass, you will see that the cookies are small, or bloodshot, oversleeps, or is awake when others are sleeping and hyper excited. These are things that parents should know. So we must start with educating the parents. And then we must go to the schools. Even primary school. Let me give you an example. I went to British School, Zaria. And when we were in junior classes, the soldiers that fought the Civil War, most of them were taking cannabis. And they started introducing it to us boys. I remember that a group of 6 of us, we used to be like 5 5 kobo, a wrap. And they would like to say, take, hear it. Because I saw those boys always having swag, they always look confident, you know. And I kept asking them, why are you guys so confident? They said, follow us to see. Now, the first time they did that and gave it to me, I put it in my mouth. I remember what my father said, that Indian hemp causes madness. Just a layman's. We had a cousin that almost burned down our house because of cannabis and alcohol. So I refused to take it. Among the 6 of us, 2 died. The other 4 were seen at our age and feeding them. They couldn't do well in school. So I've known the effect of these drugs. So we need to enforce relevant laws regarding importing and distribution of these drugs. That's why NDAB and NAFDA should be able to go to the end users. Now, codeine was banned, but for my simple economics, you know, it's demand that pushes supply. If the demand is high, of course the supply will go. So, if you suppress supply, you simply not reduce the number of taking they look for. Anyway, that also means even increasing the amount of money they have to use in buying the drug. So we should concentrate more on the demand. How do we get these people already taking the substance out? Because when the demand is reduced, as when we're able to get all the people abusing drugs out of the market, the people will not have anywhere to market this product. Nobody is taking. So rehabilitation, we have very few rehabilitation centers. I know the few by NDAB, they are not well equipped. The private ones are very costly. We need more of rehabilitation centers. We need to have more people trained, psychologists, nurses, physicians, psychiatrists, counselors. And then we go to educate the people. Well, by the time you do this, you discover that naturally supply will go down. I lived in Denmark. All the people that take substance are encouraged to come out. They don't, if you're a substance abuser, there's no punitive measure for you, no punitive measurement. Measure. If you can come out and say, I take, they start rehabilitation. Sometimes you need to substitute some of the drugs. And because many people now come out, you know, many people are rehabilitated. And then, but if you are a drug bearer, because when one they see you with drug, they test your blood sample. If there's no blood sample in you, if there's no sign of drug in your blood, that means you are a bearer, you are not corrupting the other ones. They put you away for a long time. But when they see that there is sample in your blood, they know you are patient, and patients should be treated and not criminalized. This is very, very important. So, I think on this note, I would also like to stop. I want to thank the Board of Trustees of Rehoboth Solid Drink Foundation. Komolafia and myself have been come a long way. From academic days, we were roommates in the university. And we have seen our friends going through drugs. We never knew that one day we will be sitting down to be talking like this. We see some of our colleagues wasted. So this is an opportunity that I so much appreciate, and I appreciate the board for bringing this particular topic at this time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I think at this time, let us open the floor to people who might want to ask maybe a question or two, and the people who want to make a suggestion on the way forward on how to solve this problem. Let me start from this row. Please. Yeah, the lady there. I'll take from here, from here, from there, and then.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, every moderator and the organizers of this program. Dr. Mrs. Gilina, representing my permanent secretary, and the Sonny Channel of the Federal Ministry of Education. Of the Federal Ministry of Education, because of the effect of drug abuse, during the 61st National Council on Education, that was as far back as 2016, approval was given to the Federal Ministry of Education, the state governments, and FCT in collaboration with the NDLEA to infuse drug education in Nigerian curriculum. And after that conference, the Federal Ministry of Education, in collaboration with the NERC, have been able to infuse drug education in the Nigerian curriculum. Actually, if you go through the curriculum at different points, both at primary school level and at secondary school level, you see different topics on drug abuse. Although I have the analysis here, because incidentally I'm also a member of the Presidential Committee on Elimination of Drugs, and when we were working on that, I was able to give them this analysis. So we say that prevention is better than cure. If we start at primary school level and we're able to teach the effect of drug abuse to our students, because it's there right from primary 2, primary 4, in different subjects like social studies, and also at the basic education and also senior secondary school education. It has been infused into various subjects like chemistry, even in Nigerian languages, at times in a common form of what is drug abuse, effect of drug abuse, and several other topics, dangers involved in taking drug or being involved in drug abuse. All these things have been done by the Federal Ministry of Education. And not only that, we establish free drug clubs in our schools. And we also train teachers of different subjects like health education teachers, mathematics teachers, and many of them over the years. So the UNPLOW program, organized by UNODC, is an evidence-based program. When the representative of the UNODC was started, she said we have to use scientific approach. It's a preventive program whereby the students are exposed to these issues of drug abuse, and the aim is to make them to develop, negative attitude with the issue of experimenting drugs. When the pressure comes, they will be able to have boldness to say no to drug abuse. And that particular UNPLOW program is very, very effective. It has been piloted in some of the federal unity colleges and covered all the unity colleges. And recently, they have decided to go ahead and do it at the zonal level. So we are carrying out the advocacies and inviting the proprietors of public schools and private schools, and even the governments, the state governments, to give into that UNPLOW program. That will also help to make our children learn from that level to learn how to resist this issue of experimenting drugs so that they will be able to say no to drug abuse. It's a preventive measure, and I think it can help us a lot to control this. Thank you, sir.
Let me very briefly support the last speaker. It needs to be a subject, the way you have mathematics. So the relevant government agencies and Ministry of Education should team up to present it as a subject, because when you present to the children with things you think are not good, they grow up to hate those things. If, for example, you identify a smoker in your neighborhood and you make your child do that smoking is bad, when your child sees that smoker, your child is either bound to run away or to despise him. So if these children grow up believing that drug is not good, drug abuse, drug use is not good. And I think the woman who talked on addiction also made a very relevant point, because when you say drug abuse, you mean that people should take drugs, but they shouldn't abuse it. And then if you go into marijuana, for example, how do you know when you are abusing and when you are not abusing? So I think it should be drug use. It should be a subject. That is my support of the last one. It should be a subject where you have to think, where you have to practice. Thank you.
We are in the level now here, so there is a level officer right behind you. If I don't give you the floor, maybe you will just
I am Commander H. Salim. Thank you, sir, for the opportunity. I'm very much concerned with the issue of the targeted groups in the campaign against drug abuse. However, all the speakers have presented their papers today, or the discussants have not discussed about a key group, an emerging group in this country. That emerging group is the colonies of street gangs. The colonies of street gangs, they are very serious groups that act as agents of drug peddling. What is then the nexus between drug abuse menace and colonies of street gangs? The street gangs, as I see them, they are fertile grounds to recruit drug users. In Nigerian society, we've seen where gangs, street gangs, and their supporters recruit drug abuse, they peddle drugs, and of course, they stand to be a welcoming home for individuals that have been rejected by family due to drug abuse. So they are like alternative homes for drug users. So if we can tackle the issue of the widespread of colonies of street gangs, I think we'll be nailing the nail on the head in terms of eradication of drug abuse in our society. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
So I also want to say that one of those things that have been said on what I'm listening to today is that one of the reasons why people abuse drugs is because of frustration. So I also want to say that sometimes the frustrations emanate from both. For instance, my name is Bola Bubade. I work with the University of Lagos. Now, one of those things is that sometimes when you force a student, somebody to go into the university to read the wrong course, the person is going in with frustration. At that time, they are seeing the parents as enemies or as not friends. So at that time, when the girl goes into the school, he looks for friends, and some of those ones will be influencing him to go into drugs. Then the last one is, as lecturers in school, I don't know if there are lecturers around here, or maybe some of them are our friends, that we need to be more friendly. We need to practice the high level of love when it has to do with our students. Because when you do this, a lot of times, you confess, and then they go to the only thing that you don't tell their parents. They will confess to us to tell us what we need to know about them, and at the end of the day, we'll be able to help them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That side, please.
I have the mic, please.
Somebody from that side.
I have the mic. So please, please, we will defer to the moderators. Thank you very much.
Okay, don't be very brief so that we can give somebody on the other side.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity. I'm Bola Lawal, representing the PS of the State Ministry of Education. I want to thank all the contributors, and most especially the discussant that advocated addiction of nonsense for us, where we have adults imposing their interests on the young ones. I want to also digress a bit, substantiating the addiction of nonsense in our educational system, whereby parents will always want to glorify themselves that they have geniuses, allowing their children to jump classes where we have age 89 graduating primary schools, moving to secondary level education, and leaving their same system at an unripe age of 13 or 14, getting to university at the age of 15. It was not like that in our own time. It's an addiction of nonsense. And however, a stimulant to the menace of drug abuse. And of course, when we don't develop emotionally, we think of the cognitive. A child who is 14 years, because the parent wants to be proud that my child is brilliant, that parent is now imposing his own interests on the child to fast track his or her education. And if the child eventually graduates at the age of 18, as the case may be, where is the child going? That's a big question mark. And of course, such a child who is not matured in the forward of the university system, where you need to mix up with other people of different backgrounds who might have been to drug, who have their models in Olamide and Co. Such a child is vulnerable to problems. And I think we should look in that direction. And here, I want to agree that this is stakeholders forum. Number one, we are all parents, we are all educators from different regions and social backgrounds. We will go back. I thank a colleague from the Federal Ministry of Education. Good policy has been evolved on integration of drug abuse into our curriculum. But what is the implementation rate? 0. People are not really doing the right thing. I think when we go back, there should be more campaign in our schools, parent forums through PTA. There are some stakeholder PTA forums. We need to let our parents understand these social problems and the way out. And finally, we have all lost sight of a particular group. And that's the area of non-formal education. Non-formal education, where we have out-of-school boards. And I think we have National Mass Education Commission. I think their representatives should be here. Because there have been series of advocacy to out-of-school. Everything is not limited to school system. We have problems like the colony of street gangs that our commander has mentioned. We need to take advocacy to non-formal setting. We have market women, garage people, and also thank you for this opportunity.
This is a very important topic, and we could stay here for 2 days and still not the topic. So most people who have suggestions could send it. I think the address has been provided. But let me round it up. We have federal road safety here. And they see firsthand the effects of drug abuse. Some drivers that abuse drugs, what happens. I think you need to share their experience. And they have to share their experience. Please give the Minister of Federal Research to share his experience.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Deputy Corps Commander Engineer Anthony Dowd. I quite appreciate what has been said so far on drug abuse. I was unit commander, I've been unit commander FRX in several places, and we see an operations head. Right now, the zonal head of operations, Lagos. I'm representing the Corps Marshal, Dr. Oboyo here. Drug abuse is a very serious thing in this country, especially when it comes to road traffic crashes. We see a lot on the road, and people die just like that because of drug abuse. It's a genuine thing that the RDSF is doing in organizing this annual lecture. I want to appreciate your effort for that. The professor from the Covenant University said something which is very touching. Prevention is not just said. We act, we do. That's the professor from Covenant University. I appreciate that call. Please, I'm not meddling with quarrels. Please, let's respect ourselves here. So, what I'm trying to say, in recent times I've discovered that we give attention or praise or give people who abuse drugs some kind of relevance in our society. We see them as models. Things like this should not be. It encourages our youth. It makes our youth to think after, especially when you see people who do funny hairdo. I don't understand. We're not thinking of that some years ago. Funny hairdo with Dada and the rest of them, you know this man is a drug abuser and he's a model. Things like this should stop in this country. And I think that's my humble submission. God bless you.
Please round of applause for our last commentator. I crave the indulgence of all our distinguished guests. We can't take everyone's submission. So please, can we flash the email? Okay, the email, please. I crave indulgence because at the end of this whole thing, we want to distill everyone's thoughts into something more, something that we can take and use. I also want to say that the essence of today's lecture has been achieved. Did you notice that during the comment session, a lot of people were agitated? Did you notice? A lot of hands were raised. The student, young guy came, he was almost punching me when I had to move. And the professor from Covenant University, we found your submissions very, very interesting. Our sister also, and we will be friends. We fight to ensure that drugs does not affect us in Nigeria. Please a round of applause for yourselves. It's very, very interesting. And with that, please can we give a round of applause as our moderator and his team of discussants make their way back to their seats. And my mommy comes to me. the Dean Student Affairs, Abia State University, Professor Albert University of Jos,